Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fantasy Network. I am, of course, Jimmy Nuts, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Not a book review, but a book haul. Under normal circumstances, I would go to a local bookstore, grab a cup of coffee once a week, pick up a couple books that I don't actually need. But being in quarantine at stay-at-home order, things have not been normal at all the last few weeks, or really the last few months. So I've decided to order a bunch of books from Amazon and make up on some lost time. So that's what we'll be doing today. I also got two other collectibles that I ordered from ValerianSteel.com, and I want to kind of show those off today too, and I'm pretty excited about it. So let's go nuts. So as you all can see, the situation with the hair, well, it's long. Really long. And I haven't shaved in about 2 weeks, so I don't know. I want to get this video done. Didn't feel like doing a lot of grooming, and there's not much you can do with this mop. So nonetheless, don't want to distract you. Try to focus on my strong jawline and good looks. And let's go through some of these books. Now with this book haul, usually it's just like random things that jump out to me, or things that I've had on my list, or I had someone recommend to me. This is more of a theme book haul for me. I recently have started listening to the Fire and Blood audiobook, and it really got me in the mood for A Song of Ice and Fire, but I don't want to reread the series yet because I feel like there's so many other great series out there that I need to get through before I take all the time to go back through the main 5 books. So I'm going to keep listening to Fire and Blood, but I also then started scavenging through r/fantasy on Reddit to find books that might be similar to Song of Ice and Fire and have some of those unique traits. So yeah, the overarching theme of this book haul is books that will help me get over wanting to reread Song of Ice and Fire. So let's go. Let's dive in. So first on the list is a series that I've had recommended to me multiple times by multiple people, and it's something that anytime anyone brings up A Song of Ice and Fire and other books like it, they always end up bringing up The Prince of Nothing. Apparently it's extremely bleak. I've actually purposely kind of stayed away from a lot of descriptions of these books because for me, I like to be surprised. Knowing the tone of the book going into it's just enough for me. But yeah, it's the first in a series, and you're going to see that as a common theme of a lot of large series book ones in this book haul. But I'm pretty excited about this. I've heard it's extremely maybe nihilistic, and it's also pretty dark. But for me, I like that it's a little realism. I guess going into this, not knowing a lot about it, I'm really excited to see minimal plot armor, which is something I'm really big on. I like to feel the stakes. I like to know that my favorite characters are in danger and not to take them for granted. Not sure if I'll get to it in 2020, but it's something I want on the shelf just in case I get the itch and I want to read it. I want to be able to pick it up and go through the pages. Up next, we have a massive series, but I'm only going to start with the first trilogy, which is the Farseer Trilogy, which the Realm of Elderlings, I believe. Robin Hobb series. It's actually right here on the front cover of book 1. I think all in all the books, and it's recommended by George R. R. Martin. Fantasy as it ought to be written. So that was a no-brainer. I've actually heard a ton about Robin Hobb and this Farseer trilogy. I've seen some people say it's not their taste, but from what I understand, she likes to put her characters through a lot of turmoil, similar to George, and I think it's something that I'm going to be very intrigued to read. I would love to squeeze this in 2020. They're not terribly thick books. Also, for mass market paperbacks, they feel really good, and I actually really enjoy the book 2 and book 3 covers as well. They're not terribly thick. The second and third definitely get a little bit bigger, but I'd like to squeeze in at least the first book in this year, I think. Robin Hobb is accomplished. A lot of people think that she is a staple in the fantasy genre. Nowhere better to start than her first trilogy, and from what I've seen from a lot of people, one of her most favored among her readers. So pretty excited about it. Up next is a book that I've actually been wanting to get to for a while now, and it's a book that is on the 2020 reading list for certain. Is going to be The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. If I mispronounced that name, I apologize. I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just an idiot. Look how good looking this book is. I love the color. I just love books that aren't afraid to get a little risque with the colors and lighten it up a little bit. The hardbacks are also beautiful, but I went with the paperbacks, one, because these trade paperbacks are, in my opinion, a lot easier to read. And I don't know, I like color. And the second one is a blue, and I don't know what the third one is. I have to take a look. It might be purple. So yeah, book 1 and 2 are out. Book 3 comes out in November. So for me, this is something that I definitely want to get to in 2020. And I've only heard amazing things about this book. If you're a big fan of it, drop down in the comments and let me know. I've heard some people say that it's extremely dark to the point where it's kind of disturbing. I'm hoping that it is something that intrigues me and then I can get through book 1 and 2 and then be ready for the release in November. Now, I know this might come to a shock to you, but I usually read fantasy, which is why the channel's called the Fantasy Network. But I also do enjoy sci-fi. I don't read it constantly. I'm not a connoisseur, but it's something that I definitely love. I love The Expanse. There's other sci-fi books that I've been really into, The Martian, for instance. And there's more than just that, but I can't think off the top of my head right now. But one that I've had recommended to me over and over, and Mike's Book Reviews actually did a why you should read on it, and it really resonated with me and sounded like something that I would very much enjoy, and that was the Red Rising series. By Pierce Brown. It's I believe there's 5 books out right now, and the most recent one got rave reviews. I have heard the first book is the weakest in the series, but it's not that long, so I think I can get through it, push through it. Kind of conflicted. I've heard from Mike's Book Reviews, who I trust greatly. Me and him have very similar taste here. If you haven't checked him out, check him out here on YouTube, Mike's Book Reviews. He's fantastic. He strongly recommends this. He says it's like sci-fi first law, so it's really grimdark and pretty deep. But I've also had another friend who's recommended a lot of books to me that says that he finds it to be a little more YA-ish, kind of like Divergent meets Battle Royale. So I have no idea what to expect from this. Yeah, so this is one I'm really excited about. Red Rising, I think it's good to throw in some sci-fi every now and then. It's a genre I do enjoy, and I would love to get some more experience in. Next up, we have the book that I think is the best looking... Besides Rage of Dragons, possibly, I think it's the greatest looking book I've ever seen. I got it in the mail, and it blew my mind. I loved it. I loved holding it in my hands. I loved the cover art and everything. And it's a little lesser known, but this is one of the series that I see the most when people are like, oh, if you're really craving some Song of Ice and Fire, but you don't want to reread, check out The Red Knight by Miles Cameron, which is book 1 of the Trader's Son cycle. Can we talk about how amazing this cover is? This cover is so sick, and the side binding, almost like horror type here. Like it almost reminds me of like a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of vibe, or Friday the 13th. And it has, I don't know what this style is. If somebody knows, let me know down in the comments. But this ruffled type, The Alchemist also had these. And I just love the way it feels in the hand. And I love reading like this. It looks great on the shelf. The back ties in nicely. And I know this is really weird, but I am also a collector of things, and I really enjoy collecting paperback books. So whenever someone has a great cover, a great binding, and it gives it some character. It really feels like something you want to dive into and pour over the pages. My nerd's showing, so I apologize. Something I'm really excited about. I've heard this book is immensely deep. I've heard that it is something that you have to pay attention to. Not like Malazan level where you might need to like write a dissertation at the end to understand exactly what was going on. It's definitely one you have to pay attention to, just like A Song of Ice and Fire. So I'm really excited to dive into this with the Red Knight. It comes at a very high recommendation from a couple people that I respect greatly. I feel like I'm like opening up Christmas gifts and then just showing them off. This is so odd. I've never done a book haul video, but this is very fun. I'm actually loving this. Next up, we have another book 1 in a fantasy series. It's by Richard K. Morgan, the gentleman who wrote Altered Carbon, which got adapted to a TV show on Netflix that was very popular. The Steel Remains. Decent little cover, nothing too crazy. Not actually that thick of a book either. The text is pretty much standard too, so I don't think it'll take too long to get through this. This came at a recommendation of my friend who also said I need to read Altered Carbon beforehand. Don't know if I'll get to those this year. I'll probably read summaries of them and maybe dive into them in a later day because I really want to get into this. And the main reason is I obviously love Joe Abercrombie. And on the front cover it says, bold, brutal, and making no compromises, Morgan doesn't so much twist the cliches of fantasy as take an axe to them. When Joe Abercrombie is saying that about someone that has paved the way for him in the grimdark genre, I take that pretty seriously. That's pretty high praise from Joe Abercrombie, and I'm all about taking tropes and, again, turning them on their head or slicing them in half. And it's not that I hate tropes or anything like that, but it's nice to go on the opposite side of the spectrum when we see so many tropes in fantasy novels. I think it provides a very deep reading experience. Been saying deep a lot. Need to stop. Provides a very quality reading experience, and I think that this is a book that I have to get to sooner rather than later. So this last book is one that's been moved up on my TBR list. I actually recommended it to a friend who was looking for a series, and I had heard good things. I hadn't read it yet, but I recommended it to him. He read it, said it started a little slow, but he said by the end of it he wanted more of the book, which is always one of the highest praises a reader can give, right? If you've read 5 books in a series and you're not done with it yet, that's awesome. And it's a book that, again, Germ on the front here, everything I look for in fantasy. The Dragon's Path by Daniel Abram. I mentioned The Expanse. He's a gentleman that helped write those books, and this is part of the Dagger and the Coin series. I've heard it's a very political book. I hear that there's a lot to it. Some of it might seem dry to some people, but I find everything I hear about the series to be positive. And also, Daniel Abram is writing a new fantasy series, I believe this year or next year. And he's also been someone that people have mentioned if Gurm were to have someone finish the series, it might actually be him, because he's worked with Gurm before in the past, and Gurm constantly praises him. So, I don't know. I feel like I need to dive into his work, even if he doesn't end up finishing A Song of Ice and Fire. This is just a series that comes at very high praise from not only Gurm, but also my friends. So I'm really excited to dive into it, and I think it'll probably be in the next 2 to 3 books that I read, the Dragon's Path. So that does conclude the book portion of the book haul, but I did get 2 other toys, and I'm really excited to show them to you. I ordered Arya's dagger that she killed the Night King with in the show. Spoilers, I guess. And I also ordered the TV edition of Longclaw, Jon Snow's sword that he wields in the show. And I thought these were 2 things that I really wanted. One, because I loved Jon Snow's sword and I love Jon Snow. I also really appreciated the wolf head on the handle and all the detail that was given to this sword. And I love the Night's Watch plaque that came with it. It can be mounted on the wall. I'm waiting to move into my house hopefully this summer, maybe at the latest the fall. And once I do, I'm going to hang this bad boy up. But just the plaque, the overall detail of the sword, you can even tell, they even got the bends right near the handle and stuff. Just really, really nice and quality. Valerian Steel always does a great job. I've ordered multiple things from them. I have Ice from Eddard Stark from the show, and it's just tremendous qualities there. Shipping, it came in literally 2 days, which is wild. And I think the prices are pretty fair. They do run some sales sometimes. You can catch stuff on the clearance. So definitely check them out. No affiliate link or anything, just a big fan. And then the other item I got is pretty special. This actually was limited release, and only a certain amount of these were made, and it is Arya's blade, also the blade that, spoiler alert, was used to try to assassinate Bran from Peter Baelish in the show. And I don't know, it's such a monumental piece of Game of Thrones history, and Arya, taking out the Night King with it and all the history behind it. I thought it was something that I had to have. Came with this really cool display case as well. The detail of it is great. It feels really cool in the hand, and it's immensely sharp. Unfortunately, there is a little misprint here on the blade. It actually says Ares instead of Arias. Not on the actual pendant here on the front of the display, but definitely on there. So I've reached out to them to see what they're going to do for me, and I'll let you guys know what they say. But even with the misprint, I'm pretty excited to have it, and I'm also really, really pumped about the display case that came with it and the map of Westeros underneath. This thing's going to be sitting on top of my bookshelf, and definitely one of my prized possessions. Okay, that's it. So I think I had 8 or 9 books there, and my 2 awesome collectible toys that I'm pretty pumped up about. If there's any of these books that are going to be going on your to-be-read list, or a book that you've read, please let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the books whenever you read them, and keep the spoilers out, please. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit like and subscribe. If it gets a good reaction, I'll do more of these hauls. I have a ridiculous amount of Game of Thrones merchandise that I would love to show off on the channel, and kind of just be able to show you all my nerdom. So if it's something you're interested in, make sure you engage on the video, talk to me in the comments, and until next time, keep reading, my friends.